Greetings, students. Welcome to Counseling Theory and Practice, fall semester. The purpose of this video is to introduce you to the course, to go through the syllabus, the content and assignment schedule, and some other documents that are in your D2L. And so I'm going to ask you now to pause the video and pull up all of the documents in the content section of Module 1 in D2L so that we can really be looking at the same thing and be on the same page, so to speak. So if you'll just put me on pause for a second and bring up those documents, and if you want to print them, that's fine. It's up to you. I think it's a good idea to print at least the content and assignment schedule because you're going to be referring to that throughout the semester. And there's also an important dates listing, so you might print that out as well, and the syllabus if you would like. So let's pause while you get those documents together. Before we begin talking about the syllabus, which is the first document we're going to address, I want to give you a little bit of an introduction from a personal standpoint. This course is very dear to my heart because counseling and therapy is very dear to my heart. I took up this vocation and this profession late in life after spending many years in corporate America. I came back home, if you will, to East Tennessee and decided that what I had really been doing all of my life in my corporate career was something like counseling. So I went back into the master's program here at ETSU and got a very good education about counseling. And now I have a private practice as well as part-time work for one of the local community agencies. So it is absolutely something that I love doing, I love being a part of, and I am so eager to have you experience a little bit of that knowledge that we both want to pursue here this semester. I'll tell you right up front that you're going to learn things about yourself. That's one of the objectives of the course. You're going to learn something about your worldview. That's in the very first assignment that we have. You're going to learn a lot about multiculturalism and diversity in counseling because we do have so many people who are not like us, whatever we are like. So it gives you an opportunity to learn about diversity as well. So I'm really glad you're in the course, and I look forward to learning together with you. The first part of the course is more heavily laden with reading and work, if you will, than as we get into the second part of the semester, the load will lighten. So as you look at this, especially in the second module, you'll think, oh my gosh, this is absolutely so much content. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this in the amount of time. The second module probably covers more content than any other of the modules. And as you'll see on the content and assignment schedule, we have a little bit of extended time in the second module. We only have 4 days in Module 1 because all we do in Module 1 for 4 days is really become familiar with these documents I'm about to go over with you right now. And then we move right into Module 2, which is about the counseling profession itself. So I want you to look at this syllabus. The catalog description is exactly what we are going to look like all semester. The course outcomes is at the bottom of the first page of the syllabus. I really would want you to look at those. The very first thing is about you articulating your own philosophy and psychological orientation, which is what a worldview is, and talk about how it might affect your practice of counseling if it's something you decide to go ahead and do. The second item in the course outcomes talks about your personal experience and growth and the outcomes that are expected there. And then we get into the actual content of the course itself in the third and fourth objectives about the theories, and we're not studying all of them, but we're studying the ones that have the most historic value and the ones that are I would say, go-to theories for most professional counselors and most therapists. I will use those two words interchangeably, counselor and therapist. To me, it's the same. So we'll also, especially in the second module, talk about the profession of counseling, the ethics, especially confidentiality and all the things that have to do with ethics. So I want you to be familiar with those course outcomes before you go on with the syllabus. So if you need to put me on pause again, please feel free to do that anytime, because I won't know. So you see in the course management and evaluation policies, the very first thing is I will have some online contact hours. I have Skype on my computer at home, and that would be the most convenient way for me to see you face-to-face if you would like to do that. It's not absolutely necessary, but anytime you would like to Skype with me right now, Mondays from 7 to 8 in the evening are going to be the time that I would be available for you. This may change throughout the semester because sometimes my schedule changes. I think you've seen an email already that says there is no required text, but there will be some required reading that will be available to you in D2L. We used to call them course reserves, but now all of the course reserves are in your D2L section instead of having to go to the library to get the course reserves. So you won't see that in D2L. The two main texts that this whole content comes from is Ed Newkrug and Gerald Corey. And there's in the first part of the semester, we'll also study some things from Ivy and Ivy. So those are the texts, but it's, again, not required for you to buy them. So let's look on. I'm sure you're all concerned about how do I get a grade in this? What is the grade possibility here? Well, first, a huge part of the evaluation to me is how you participate in the discussions, in the discussion forums and the topics in the course. So there will be a time that is posted as to when deadlines for those discussion conversations take place. The discussion area will close, or actually not close. It will not be available for points. The evening before the assessment takes place for that module, for that specific module. We'll talk more about deadlines when we get to the content and assignment schedule. Right now we're looking at the syllabus. So electronic course participation, 120 points, you see is a big part of the 400 points that are available to you in this course. And it all has to do with the discussions. Rather than read to you exactly what's in the syllabus about that, I want you to take some time to read that now. There is a rubric for course content discussions, and the second page of that rubric has it's in fact a dozen do's and don'ts about the discussion area and about participating in email conversations. That is the discussion area etiquette section that you see on page 3, the top of page 3 of the syllabus. So I would ask that you follow those guidelines. And there is an open forum discussion area at the very beginning of the discussion area on D2L, That is an area that is open to you for any question that you have about the study, about the content, about the course, or about counseling that you think that other students would benefit from as well. If you just send me an email and I respond back to you via email, there might be some other students in the class that would benefit from that dialogue, from that conversation. So that's what we put in the open forum discussion area. So I hope that all of you will use that. If suddenly you run into something that's in the content and you say, this doesn't make sense, I'm in a panic about this, go straight to the open forum discussion area, and I will answer as quickly as possible anything that's found in that discussion area. It's open forum, and it's just that. It's open for anything, questions, comments, or suggestions. I'm open to those. So 120 points on the discussion area. Then the written assignments as you go on down that same page on your syllabus. I like to get the written assignments graded as soon as I can, so you're not going to have to be sitting on, oh, well, what did I make on this thing? And for each written assignment, there is a rubric. And if you sit that rubric to the side of you while you are writing this assignment, all three of your written assignments, and there are only 3 in the course, you should be able to pick up all of the points eligible if you follow that rubric and you do what's in the rubric, because that's what I do when I evaluate them. I just take the rubric, sit it there, and then I evaluate each item in the rubric as I go. So, just for very clear understanding, the rubrics are available to you, and there are 3 written assignments that will constitute a total of 110 points of the 400. And as you see, all 3 of those written assignments aren't quite as point-laden as the discussion area, so that's the importance in the discussion area. Let me spend a little bit of time with you on assignment 1. It's a self-analysis, personal identity, and worldview paper. And if you look at the rubric, it'll tell you exactly what I'm looking for. Also, there is a document format example that is in D2L that shows you exactly the format that I want you to write this paper in. Just follow that format in the document format example. So if you have that and the rubric, you should be able to get all 50 points here if you follow those 2 things. So the purpose of this is to not only explore your own worldview, and there's some PowerPoints in Module 2 about what a worldview is and about coming to that worldview. It's about that worldview, about your cultural heritage, about your belief systems as they affect, or as they would affect, you in the profession of counseling. So the first assignment is not due until September 13th in the Dropbox. The Dropbox does have a plagiarism detector. And although this is all about you, sometimes students will use quotations from other sources. If you do that, you must cite that source as it is exampled in the document format example. So be sure that you don't use somebody else's words as your own. Cite them correctly as is given in that example in your D2L document. Again, 50 points for the assignment 1, and it's due September 13th in the Dropbox at 11:59 p.m. The Dropbox's assignments will close at 11:59 p.m. on the due date. We won't talk about assignment 2 yet or assignment 3 yet. That's something that's going to be due later in the semester, but those are your written assignments. At the end of each module, and there are 7 of them, of the 7, at the end of 6 of those beginning with Module 2, you have an assessment. The assessments and the early semester progress status exam make up the assessment section of this course evaluation, and it's a total of 170 points. Now, you say, wait a minute, I thought the discussion area was so important. Well, it is so important. 50 of those 170 points are possible in one single assessment. That's the assessment that I mentioned to you in the earlier email, and that should have been in the registration system when you registered for this course. It is the early semester progress status exam. I used to call it midterm, but it comes a little bit before midterm. It will include everything in modules 2 and 3, although you will have taken the modules 2 and 3 assessments prior to this. The early semester progress exam will take place on September 26th and 27th in Sherrod Library. The testing center is on the first floor. The hours for the testing center are on the website, so be sure you check that out and that you have availability on those 2 days to go into Sherrod Library to take the assessment. There will be no makeup on the early semester progress assessment. I will have to have them done by them, and then in order to turn in your early semester progress to the registrar's office. So if you can't be there, let me know well ahead of time. So we have then on the syllabus, back to the syllabus, the grade analysis here and the points for each letter grade that you see here on page 4 of the syllabus. On page 5 of the syllabus, you begin to see the course modules as they're listed, and you see that Module 1 that we're going to just spend 4 days in is just really all of the rubrics, the requirements, the syllabus, that sort of thing. So there is a chance that I would open up Module 2 a little bit early, quite honestly, because I don't think if you really looked at it, you'd have to spend 4 days on Module 1 once you see this introductory video anyway, and you're doing the part that I'm asking you to, and that is to look over the papers while you're listening to the video. Then we go into the counseling profession in Module 2, and we begin with the theories in Module 3, starting with psychoanalytic, Freud, and that gang of his followers. Then we go into existential and humanistic. Humanistic has 2 theories, person-centered from Carl Rogers, and Gestalt from Fritz and Laura Perls. And we cover those, and in each of these we cover the founders, the basic assumptions, the key concepts, the primary approaches and role of the counselor, and of course multicultural considerations for each of the theories. So after Module 4 and we finish existential and humanistic, that's when we really begin, I think, to slow down a little bit and go into the behavioral, cognitive, and cognitive behavioral theories. These theories are used widely today in community agencies because of the vast amount of empirical evidence available that they are effective. Module 6, then we get into more of today's philosophy as it relates to counseling in the postmodern and social constructivist theories. And we will cover in that section feminist, solution-focused, and narrative, just to name a few. And then in our last module, we wrap up the semester by going into family systems. If we had time, it would be great to have a module on integrating the different theories and matching that up to the client, depending on the client's needs. That module would be called integration. Unfortunately, we do not have the time for that, and I hope that if you continue to pursue counseling as a career, either academically or professionally or both, that you study integration as you go forward, and I'm sure that you will. So the content and assignment schedule is what we're going to go over next, but before we leave the syllabus, let's just look over the rest of what's on page 6. I will always create an introductory module or a video for you like this one for each module. On there you find the university calendar, and I would very much encourage you to use the ETSU Writing and Communication Center that's located in Shared Library on the first floor as you turn in especially the first paper, because it is the paper that is going to be truly from your heart. So the writing should be clear and concise, and it certainly wouldn't help for you to run by the Writing Center and just check to be sure your references are cited correctly if you use a citation, and that your written communication is nice and clear and concise. There's tutoring services available. One thing I want to mention to you on page 7 of the syllabus is about the Student Counseling Center that's in the DP Culp Center on the 3rd floor. It's free to you, and actually it's in your tuition. So if you ever need the counseling center, feel free to use it. It's very confidential, very private to you. There are interns from the counseling and social work program both there. There's also experienced counselors. You can give a preference as to the type of person you would like from a therapist's standpoint. Even if you're just getting anxious over tests, having issues about home, or having left home, or making this stage in your life more comfortable to yourself, you can go to the counseling center. I used to work there myself. It's a great place to come for counseling. It's a great place to work too. So of course we have disability services, and before we leave the syllabus and go to the content and assignment schedule, I do want to talk to you about the academic dishonesty paragraph on page 7. Very serious about that. Copying someone else's work can get you thrown out of all of ETSU, not just this course. So that's one reason the Plagiarism Detector is there. And that's one reason I ask you in the discussion area to come up with something new, not to reiterate something somebody's already said. This is about what comes from you and your learning. So I truly don't think we'll have any problem with that, but I did want to address that before we go on to the content and assignment schedule. So if you'll bring that document up in front of you or have it printed to the side, you see right at the very top, subject to change, and it is subject to change. So what I will do if there is a revision to this is I will always go back to Module 1 in the contents section there and put the date of the revision for you. You'll see as you look through this, every single date throughout the semester is listed here. The deadlines are listed here, and the topics that we're going to cover in each module are listed here. The date and time of the assessments that will be online, except for the early semester progress exam, are on here. And you'll see as a rule of thumb, there are some exceptions to this, but you'll see as a rule of thumb that the modules will open up on Saturdays, and the first discussion post deadline will be on the following Tuesday, and by that night, and then the discussion area will close on Thursday evening for the most part, before your assessment takes place on Friday or Saturday. The assessment will be open to you online all day Friday and all day Saturday until 11:59 p.m. on Saturday evening. So that's the general rule of thumb as you go through the course. There are some exceptions, especially when we have the interruption of, or the welcome interruption, I should say, of fall break. And you'll see on your content schedule as you go through here, just look at all of it, page 1, page 2. You see the dates that are associated with the modules and what we're going to be covering, the topics we're going to be covering in those modules. There is no final in this course. The last thing you're going to turn in is the easy for me to say, the differentiation chart, the theories, different theories and how they differ. And that is due at the very end of the semester, December 6th in the Dropbox. So, and we'll be there before you know it. So look over this content and assignment schedule and you'll see the most important thing for us right now is that August 24th through the 27th, those 4 days, Module 1 is left open to you to view this video, to become familiar with the content in Module 1 by the 27th of August. I may go ahead and open up Module 2 early because I don't think that it's going to take you that long, honestly, to just go over these papers and listen to this video. So I may open up Module 2 a little bit before August 28th, but the deadlines will still remain in effect as you see them on the content and assignment schedule there. So now that we've covered those two, let's go to a document called Important Dates and Deadlines. That's also in your D2L content area. And you will see on that document that all the dates that are important to you are written there. So just plug them into your calendar, okay? The assessment dates are on there. Now, I have not put the initial discussion post deadlines in there. You're going to need to keep your content and assignment schedule available for those dates. And always know that the content and assignment schedule is your first line of reference, your first document of reference in case something changes. It will always be there for you. So you see on the written assignments that are due the 13th of September, November 8th, and December 6th, they're spread out. And then your early semester progress exam is there. We have then the online assessment dates that, as you see, are mostly Fridays and Saturdays with the exception of Module 3 and Module 4. Module 7. So that's your important date listing. So let's go to the links for the self-analysis paper. It's going to be necessary for you to view information about worldviews, which is in Module 2. That's another reason I may open it early. And there's also going to be a necessity for you to take a personality assessment. Actually, it's a Myers-Briggs. And there's a link there in the links for self-analysis paper assignment in your content section of D2L. There's also a values listing link that I've given you there just to help you figure out that part of the paper as well. So that's available to you. So given all that, I think we've covered everything we need to cover for Module 1. And I will see you again to cover Module 2.